What's up guys, it's Mega giving you another deck filling key evolution. Today guys we are doing another Invoked deck, and the next one to get the treatment is Witchcrafters. Now I have tried Shadow Witchcrafter and even a pure Witchcrafter and they just didn't do it for me. So I decided to go for Invoker. We all worship Alistair and he actually proved very decent for the deck. So guys, let me show you why and let's get into the deck. So starting us off guys is 3 copies of the boy himself, Alistair the Invoker. Guys, when Alistair is normal summoned, you get to add Invocation from your deck to your hand. Now any true Invoke player will tell you if you worship Alistair enough, you will always open Alistair Invocation or Magical Meltdown Alistair, so you don't need to worry about those pesky Ash Blossoms. But even if you don't guys, if you worship, this goal will always come to you in your time of need. So guys, this guy's a 1-card mechaba or Purgatrio, and we'll tell you why in a little bit. He also has another hand trap effect where you can send him to the graveyard to target any fusion monster you control, and it gets 1,000 more attack points, which is actually pretty nice. 2 copies of the dreaded Ash Blossom of Joy Springs is one of the best hand traps in this particular format, because obviously we don't have the newer cards to make use of like Gamma, Mechaba, or Gamma, Nibiru and the rest of them. So Ash Blossom, should your opponent add a card from the deck to the hand, especially some from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the grave, she just shuts them down. Have a nice day. Now I'm running Magician Souls over Pot of Extravagance simply because we're running an invoked half rather than running a like a pure variant. So for Magician Souls guys, we get to pitch not only a Ruru, Edda, Hein, or Verre. So we have plenty of targets to send to the graveyard with this and resurrect them with Holiday. You can also pitch like dead cards like Magical Melt in order to draw additional cards. So that's what kind of like why we use Souls, and also it's it's an extra summon that you sometimes need. We've gone to Witchcrafters guys. We've got that lone copy of Witchcrafter Edel. She is like a lone copy, you don't need more than her. So her effect is, so all Witchcrafters share the ability where, or apart from like the high end ones, they all share the ability where you can discard any spell to special summon a Witchcrafter from your deck. Edel is a little bit different, where you can special summon from the hand or graveyard instead, so that's pretty sweet. So yeah, she's a really great one. So you can also tribute her as well to target a spellcaster in your grave and special summon it, so that's where she can kind of shine. We do have Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. Aruru guys, again because it's a high level one, it's a because it's a high level one, it has like a unique effect. So when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a spellcaster monster, it doesn't have to be a Witchcrafter, it can be any spellcaster. Or if they attack into a spellcaster, you can target one card your opponent controls and a Witchcrafter spell in your graveyard, summon this card, and if you do, bounce the card that you've chosen back into the hand. So you can target, like say your opponent targets one of your monsters or targets them with a card effect, bounce them back, summon out this bad boy, and drops a fish. So, and guys, during the end phase of your opponent, your next turn, she gets added back to your hand. So you can just keep recycling a Ruru. We've got that lone copy of Witchcrafter Hein. Again, you need the 1 copy. She's a high level 1, so she has a unique ability where your opponent cannot target other spellcasters you control with card effects. Really great. And also she has quick effect where you can discard any spell to destroy 1 card your opponent controls, which is a really powerful ability. A nice interruption. And again, the other high-powered one is Witchcrafter Madame Verre. So during battle phase or during damage calculation, if any spellcaster you control battles, quick effect, you can reveal as many spells in your hand. Your monster gains 1,000 more attack points. That does work on itself, and it works on all of your other spellcasters. Really great. And also, you can discard 1 spell to negate all face-up monsters your opponent controls. So she basically becomes a skill drain, simply by discarding any spell, which is really great. Now we've got onto the lower Witchcrafters, which all share the same ability, where, again, you can discard a spell card, tribute itself, and summon a Witchcrafter from your deck. So that's really great. So, is it Potier or Scamitia, I believe, can summon any one of our Witchcrafters simply by discarding any spell, which is really great. And they all have a graveyard ability. So for Potier, you get to draw 1 card. So you get to banish it from your graveyard, draw a card. Then you have to send a Witchcrafter with your a Witchcrafter card from your hand to the grave. If you don't, you banish your entire hand, but drawing that key card can sometimes be key. Pitier, if you have no cards in your hand, you can target a Witchcrafter spell in your grave and add. But Scimitar is kind of the best one, where you can banish her from your graveyard to send a Witchcrafter spell from your deck, or a Witchcrafter card from your deck to the graveyard. So again, you can pitch a monster to trigger its ability. You can pitch a spell card because then their effects are going to trigger. There's a lot of things you can do with Scimitar. So a little combo is combine her with Pitier, because then you're always guaranteed to draw a card and then mill a card that you need, and then it resurrects back to your hand. So that's kind of a little combo. Spells, guys, I'm running that lone copy of Cosmic Cyclone because it is a spell so used for your Witchcrafters, and also it does come in handy against back row, like such as like those pesky like Mystic Mind players, stuff like that, or Salamangreat players, because you can target one card your opponent controls and banish it. It doesn't destroy, doesn't do any of that kind of things. It just banishes. Have a nice day. 2 copies of Invocation. This card is searchable with Alistair, and it is like your main fusion card. You use this, guys, if you're using this to summon an invoked monster, you can use monsters from your opponent's graveyard as well. So their graveyard becomes your graveyard, and you can use monsters from your hand and graveyard and hand to summon out a monster. That's why it's kind of key, and it's recyclable, because you can research. If this card is in your graveyard and you have an Alistair that is banished, you can add the Alistair back to your hand and just and shuffle Invocation back into the deck. Really sweet. 3 copies of Magical Meltdown. This card adds Alistair directly from your hand. So running 6 Alistairs, which is really, really sweet. And if this card is in play, your opponent can't do anything to negate a fusion card. So that means they can't. So say they have Infinite, a Borrowload Savage. They can't use their abilities to negate a fusion if Magical Meltdown is in play, which is really, really sweet. We have one Magicalized Fusion, because this card lets us cheese out Quinlet Magician, because we're running a lot of spells, spellcasters. I think we're running 16 spellcasters, and that's just in the main deck alone. So it's really easy to go into Quinlet. So you can banish magician or spellcasters from your hand or from your field or graveyard, and then obviously summon out Quinlet. That's the main reason why we run it. Now again, I'm only running 1 copy of Secret Religious Spellcaster simply because I'm running Magical Meltdown. If this was a pure one, you'd maybe run 2 copies of this. So, and also it is searchable with Terraforming. So with Secret Religious Spellcasters, guys, if you control a spellcaster, which near enough all of our monsters are, like I say, your opponent cannot activate spells, which is a really, really great, because it locks them out of spellcasters, or locks them out of However, if they are also playing a spellcaster deck like Dark Magician, the card's kind of useless, but not everyone is running spellcasters. We are running those 2 copies of Super Polymerization because it really comes in handy, because you can go into Starving Venom and Dragon Stapelia really easily, especially because we are running like fusions ourselves, so it's stupidly easy to go into Dragon Stapelia. We are running that Terraforming because we can add Secret Village, and also it can add Magical Meltdown, so technically you're running 7 Alistairs in your deck. Now we are also playing Street. When you're in the one shit, you only need this. This card is like protection for your Witchcrafters. So, so the first time one of your Witchcrafters would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, it's not, which is really, really great. And then all of the spells for Witchcrafters all share the ability where, during the end phase, if you control a Witchcrafter monster and you did not use this card's effect, you can add this card back. You can either add it to your hand or activate it. So that means Street will continuously be recycled. So you can keep sending your Witchcrafter cards or spells to the graveyard with souls to draw cards. Then they just come back. So it's really, really great. And Street also has the effect where if a Witchcrafter monster would activate its effect like to discard, you can send this card on the field to the grave instead. So you don't even need to discard your hand. So that's really great. Witchcrafter Creation lets you add a Witchcrafter from your deck to your hand, really great. And again, during the end phase, if you control a Witchcrafter and you did not use this card effect, you can add this card to your hand. Holiday is a monster reborn for the deck, and like I say, once again, it gets added to your hand if you control a Witchcrafter. And then Scroll lets you draw a card if a spellcaster monster you control destroys a monster by battle. Doesn't have to be a Witchcrafter, it's any spellcaster. If it destroys a monster by battle, you get to draw a card. And again, it gets added back to your hand. Then we're running the 3 copies of Infinite Impertinence, really great hand trap. Should your opponent, should you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. It's basically an effect veiler, but better because it can't be called by the grave, while effect veiler can. And if you set this card, then activate it, your opponent can't, should your opponent have a spell or trap in that column, it's also negated. So yeah, that's really great as well. And then finally we are using Summon Limit, because Witchcrafters, apart from the Alistair combo, you don't really summon out a lot of times. Like, majority of the time you maybe summon 2 times, if not sometimes maybe 3 times a turn. So Summon Limit doesn't really affect you. So you can like bring out all of your high-powered monsters with a single summon because of like the Witchcrafter's effect. So you can legit get around Summon Limit so easily, and it can hamper your opponent if they're playing combo decks. Onto the extra deck, guys, we are playing Mechaba. Mechaba is legit fantastic for Invoke players. Any Alistair plus a light attribute goes into that. It is an Omnigate, so should your opponent activate a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can discard the same card from your hand to the graveyard to negate and banish the card. So if you have a monster, your opponent activates a monster effect, discard it, negate Alistair, and again, like I say, if you've got Witchcrafters plus an Alistair plus Mechaba with Secret Village, not only are they locked out of spells, Mechaba can stop them from playing monster effects as well. It's have a nice day. So we are running 2 copies of Purgatory as well. Purgatory is there for pushing OTKs, because this guy gains 200 attack for each monster your opponent controls, which is really great. And he could deal piercing damage as well. And he can attack all monsters your opponent controls. So he's basically just the ultimate OTK monster. And again, because he's a fusion, Alistair can give him 1,000 more attack points if need be. We are running that copy of Predaplant Dragos Depelia. It is 1 fusion plus 1 dark monster. So any one of our fusions plus like your opponent's dark monster, if you're playing Super Poly, can go into Dragos Depelia. It's basically like a effect veiler or an imperm once per turn. So once per turn you can give your opponent's monster a predator counter. Should they have a predator counter, it negates its effect. That monster can't activate its effects. So that's really great. We are running that Quinlet Magician. Like I say, guys, we're mainly going to do this with Magnalized Fusion. Basically, upon being summoned, it destroys all cards your opponent controls. Really great. This card cannot be tributed, so that means it cannot be kaiju'd, and also nor used as fusion material. Also, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it can't be destroyed by card effects, it can't be super polyed, and it can't be kaiju. Just a legit fantastic card. We've got that lone copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. 2 dark monsters go into this. It's really easy to go into it, and it's because dark is the most common like attribute, so it's really easy to go into this, especially with super polymerization. We look onto the links. We are running that lone copy of IP Masquerena. Really great, because should your opponent like try and do anything, you can just chain with IP Masquerena's ability and link summon during your opponent's turn, and any monster that uses Masquerena cannot be destroyed by card effects. The 2 main targets with Masquerena is either Nightmare Unicorn, where you can like go into Nightmare Unicorn during your opponent's turn, discard 1 card, target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the deck, and again that card cannot be destroyed by Unicorn can't be destroyed by card effects if it's used with Masquerena. Or the other target is to go into Crusade via Avamax, where if this card is link summoned, it can't be targeted by card effects. Obviously, if used with Masquerena, it can't be destroyed by card effects either. It gives it a lot of protection. And if it battles a monster or special summoned, Avamax gains that monster's attack points. And even if it does leave the field, then it has a unicorn effect where you can shuffle 1 card into the deck, into 1 card your opponent has back into the deck. Really great effect. Now we're using 1 copy of Predaplant versus Anaconda. Any 2 effect monsters go into Anaconda, and we have just so many targets. We have the Super Polymerization, and we have the Magnalized Fusion. So that means this guy can cheese out Quinlet, and he can also go into Super Poly. And also Anaconda can make any monster your opponent controls become a dark. So Anaconda plus any have to be a dark attribute can go into Starving Venom. The only downside is if you use Anaconda's ability, you can't summon for the rest of the turn, so please bear that in mind. And then we're running 2 Armorage, 2 Secure Guard, and the reason why we're running these is because these basically set up the Purgatorio and Mechaba plays. So normally what you would do is summon out Alistair. Because he has 1,000 or less attack points, you can link him away into Armorage, and then you can link Armorage to go into Secure Gardener. Now, Alistair plus an Armorage will equal Purgatorio because it's a fire attribute, and also Alistair and Alistair and Secure Gardener will equal mechaba. So a single Alistair will equal a Almirage and a mechaba. Really, really great. The reason we're running 2 of each is just in case they do get banished or anything, you can then use it again to go into another purgatory. So say, for instance, you go into an Alistair, your opponent outs that mechaba. You have Alistair back in your hand. You summon out that mecha. You summon that Alistair again. You could just go back into another mechaba just like that, and it doesn't hinder you one little bit, guys. And that's it for the deck. It is a really, really straightforward deck. Really, really great. I do enjoy this. This is a shout out to Patrick, who is always telling me to play Witchcrafters. He prefers Shadow rather than Invoked, but nevertheless, Witchcrafters was legit fun to play. And yeah, I do hope you enjoy the Super Polys, because you always open Super Poly if you play Witchcrafters. So guys, without any further ado, cheers so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the deck, hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing. Either one does help out the channel grow. And without any further ado, guys, I hope you do enjoy your day or night wherever you are. Take care, enjoy the replays.